All right, why don't we call the meeting to order if our camera person is ready. Thank you all for coming. It's going to be a busy night for everybody. Those who are venturing from here to town meeting, which I know I am. I suspect Marty's going to be there too. We'll move on. So we'll take up the SABRC discussion first, if you want to do that. I'd be happy to do that. I was away for the presentation when Dirkie Brown gave their presentation about 4 weeks ago, but, you know, kind of caught up in basically the most important stuff is what we discussed this week. So we're kind of narrowing down the options, and there are like 7 or 8 options at this point.
It's down from 12.
Was that?
It's down from 12.
Yeah.
Step in the right
Get
direction.
down to maybe 3 or 4 next week, or the week after when we meet. The interesting thing that, and again, I wasn't present at the Dirkie Brown presentation, but it was obvious that and there's only one option here that has the senior center going into Gates. All the other options, of which there are, like I say, 6 or 7 or 8 others, all have incorporated a separate standalone center. Not saying where it should be, whether it should be at Gates, whether it should be somewhere else, but just it looks like the opportunity to do a 2017 center doesn't really fit into the Gates property in an efficient way. So,
may I interrupt for a minute? Because
Yeah.
I was at that presentation and heard both proposals, one of which was the standalone behind Gates while
Right.
Gates was renovated for a town hall and recreation.
Right.
And the other was the senior center as an extension to the Gates School as part of town hall and the recreation.
yeah,
So those were 2. So which
Yeah.
one have they eliminated?
neither has been eliminated.
Oh, you just said one, there was only one with the senior center at Gates.
There's only one of our considered, 6 or 7 or 8 options
Within that physical plan.
that has the center still at Gates. So that has not. That option's
You're
not
talking
been
about
eliminated. It's
one's on
one of
one's on the
options.
campus,
The
and
one's
one's in the
removed.
building.
One's,
Right.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
both at the Gates,
Right.
on the Gates
You're right.
property, current.
But not inside the school. I get what you're saying.
yeah.
And the
That's a good
figure
news.
that Mr. Catlin has kind of come up with, I think, is 14,650 or 675 or something like that. That's what he feels is an appropriate square footage for current needs and hopefully, future needs. I'm not sure how far down the future, if he mentioned how he thought that would work in 10 years from now or 15 years
That's
from now. But,
perfect proposal.
right now, at least the recommended square footage is just under 15,000 square feet. So just to, I don't want to take up all our time because we don't have a whole lot of time. Just kind of breeze through these pretty quickly in terms of the alternatives that we've come up with. There are 1, 2, 3. 3 of the alternatives call for selling Gates. And I'll just go through them. 1A is sell Gates and renovate 600 CJC, which would be selling Gates and renovating Town Hall for additional space and more efficiency. And then without a recommendation as to what would happen if we sold Gates. So 1B is sell Gates and build a new complex at 600 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. So 1A is just a renovation of the town hall. 1B is a renovation and expansion of town hall. And these all involve demolishing the police station and the little fire building next to the town hall. The feeling is that there's potentially some significant environmental issues in the police building because the fact that there was a firing range downstairs, and most likely there's been lead that has probably been leached into the ground there, hopefully not into the groundwater, but at least into the ground, and to try to renovate, try to mitigate that, it would be extremely, extremely expensive. It's going to be expensive enough just to level it and cart it away because of the mitigation issues. So the town or somebody is going to be facing some significant issues with that mitigation. And then going down to 1C is sell gates and build a complex of 600. Why does that differ? Very similar to B, the minor differences. I should mention 1A, 1B, and 1C, where it says sell gates, it says sell gates for residential development. So that pertains to 1A, B, and C. And then we have also one which didn't get listed on this because it came up very late in the meeting, was renovate gates, tear down gates, sell gates, take gates down and make the land into a athletic field complex with the possibility of leaving the gym there, but taking down the rest of the buildings. I don't know if any of you have ever passed through Pembroke. I think it's on Route 14. They've got a phenomenal recreational field complex there. It must have, 3 or 4 baseball fields, 2 or 3 soccer fields. It's just a beautiful, beautiful facility. So I think there's some thought, and I think we're going to pursue that a little bit more at our next meeting. That thought came up late in the meeting. It would be the possibility of having a kind of an athletic complex there.
Just a question. So on the residential development, is there anything, any specifics? Are they looking at 55 plus or anything like that? Because I had heard some talk about that.
Part of the forum too.
Yeah, most likely because, of course, the UMass study, very clearly stated that there was a need for some additional, 55 housing, whether that be for purchase or for rental. And again, that's really not the committee's charge to, I think, get into that. I think our charge is, either we're going to use gates or we're not going to use gates.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't know if they get specific.
If it can be sold, I think the issues with selling it and with a developer coming in is that zoning change would be required, and that's going to take some time and probably some legal fees to do that, because some of the abutters might not be too happy about a significant residential situation going in there. But that's a possibility.
Well, affordable housing certainly is a realistic need.
Yeah,
whether it go there
without
or
a doubt.
someplace.
And there's even the potential that we could tear down gates, retain the property, and sell off the development rights to a developer. If we could find a developer who would want to go in there and develop gates with the idea that they're not going to own the property, the town would maintain the property ownership, and as a result, the town would gather property taxes from whatever would be built there.
Right.
So those are the kind of the sell gates, tear gate, or tear gates down options, and then there are like 4 options to renovate gates, and only one of them SA has a COA incorporated in that. The iterations are demolish C wing and A wing. Leave a wing, and some of them involve putting town offices in there, school administration and rec, and then there's another option for just town offices and school administration. So there's just the variations of what could go in there. It seems like, from what we've been told, the kind of third party, I guess, that it seems like the school administration would rather not be in a town hall per se complex, that they would rather be in a school and or their own property. But that's neither here nor there. Again, we're not going to make that decision. So that's kind of it. So again, three options for selling the property, 4 options for renovating it, and a couple of options for just demolishing it and the town keeping the property. And we do understand that there's going to be some emotional, not backlash, but emotional issues with the thought of demolishing or tearing gates down. Sometimes it's referred to as a historic building. It's not on the Historic Commission. It's even I think I can honestly say, because I've talked to the historical chairman, they don't have any issues with taking gates down. So I know that I think, I forget the gentleman's name from Durkee Brown.
Doug?
Doug is on occasion referred to as a historic piece of property. I wish it weren't referred to as historic. There's no history to that building, other than the fact that lots of people have passed through it over 100 years. But it's of not historical significance like some other properties in town are. So.
Certainly.
But there will be some feelings for against tearing it down. There's no doubt about it, and or even selling it.
From the architect's viewpoint, they do make a good case for it, if not being historic per se exactly, it being such a unique and potentially vital part of the town. And I think if they could build it to really reflect that it would be something that would benefit Scituate in the long run. And to hear them, you would say, yes, I believe that. It's beautiful, the potential is beautiful, but.
There's a lot of feeling about what's going to happen to that area. Obviously, Central School, I think Housing Authority is looking at some additional housing. The newly renovated library. So it's just a nice, kind of area there for the town. So, we certainly, the SABRC committee, if anything is going to happen to the property, we're sensitive to the fact that, we just don't want to. The town has to be proud about what happens there. It's a really vital part of town, and we really want to make sure that what's done there is well done. And but so that's kind of where we're at. Durkee Brown is coming back with more, trying to pin down what costs are to do these things. So obviously that's going to be a consideration. The senior component is pretty easy. We know that it's $380 to $400 a square foot, so a 15,000 square foot center is $6 million. So that's easy, but trying to figure out some of the other costs have taken them a little bit more time. So I think they're going to be coming back to the town administrator in the next couple of weeks, if they haven't yet already, trying to pin it down what it would cost to renovate gates for some of these proposals. What it would cost to take gates down and cart it away in a truck, and what are the development potentials there. So because those are going to be considerations. We all know that we've just incurred $100 million in schools and safety complex buildings, and I think the town's appetite is going to be kind of sensitive to another. I would think if you looked at this whole project, you're probably in the area of $40–45 million. I would think, and it's a big nut to crack at this point in time. But there's also discussion that there's potential that the the senior project could go on maybe in advance of some of the other projects. So if the decision was that the Gates property was a good location, but to take on the whole ball of wax at this point in time isn't going to be the good thing to do, that there is potential that the COA center, the senior center could be built on the Gates property. And I think Mr. Catlin even felt that there was possibility of retaining the soccer field. They could have to kind of rearrange things. So if the senior center were to be done at Gates, you could go ahead with that, and then they could go ahead with the other development, the other project, with whatever they want to do with Gates at a later date.
Gordon, what are the timelines on the committee?
Yeah, Karen and we discussed trying to wrap things up by early June, so another 5–6 weeks, something like that. And then we'd make our recommendation to the town. And I suspect we're going to probably come down to probably three alternatives that we think are viable and let the Board of Selectmen make a decision on what they think is the best thing for the town.
So what needs to happen to do that? Need numbers from?
Numbers, yeah, some, they're going to probably give us in the town a pretty good range of what the costs are involved to do. I mean, because we've got a couple of people on our committee who are great. They've been in land development and building development. So we kind of put some numbers on all this stuff, ourselves. But, we think they're probably reasonably accurate. But hopefully Dirk Brown's will even be more accurate. But, it's my point that I tried to make the other night is that if the commitment by the selectmen is that they would like to see the senior center on the Gates property, but yet not do the whole ball of wax at once. I mean, to put the senior center on the Gates property to make that decision is going to be a decision that you are going to do something to develop the Gates property, whether it be with housing, senior housing, or with renovating Gates. Whereas if you're thinking in terms of maybe, there are a couple of other pieces of property in town that maybe the center could be built on, one of them being the library site, and there's that piece of land on Driftway, I guess, between the landfill and the golf course, that college thing or that maritime thing was looking at for a while.
Yeah.
And there may be others. We really haven't done enough. We haven't done, it's not really our charge to do that research, but so
You're looking at the individual building.
citing the center is going to be an important decision.
Right.
But it's all yet to be decided. So that's kind of where we're at.
What was the impression of the proposals for the town hall, the Gates renovation to include town hall recreation and a separate senior center building? What was the discussion after, there?
That's really about as far as it went until we get, until the town gets the estimates from Dirk Brown in terms of what it would cost.
I see, yeah.
So it's hard to say. I mean, we're trying to.
So they really didn't want
We're
to form
trying
an
to stay,
opinion yet, just
trying to
hear
stay
it.
open, yeah, to look, what would it, and there is, because these two fellows who are on the committee, Larry and names, but two people who have been involved in building, and we talked to is it the fellow who's the building, what's his title for the town?
Oh, Neil Duggan?
No,
Building
not
commissioner?
Neil.
Al Bagner?
The facilities.
Oh,
facilities
Kevin Kelly.
manager. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we had a little
Facilities
discussion with him, and when he
director,
gave us the tour, and the town hall, the core of town hall is really a good building, and
Right.
and this feeling that could be expanded, probably going back, up and back.
Right, up to.
And of course, there's a negative there at that property. If we would, and we kicked around the idea about maybe just leveling everything there, and if Gates Complex were to be used, but then you've got that radio tower complex back there, which is not going anywhere for a long time. The town has a long-term contractual agreement that and even when that contractual agreement is done, if we said, okay, we're done with it, who's going to pay to take that thing down and the expense of that? So there's some limitations as to what you could probably do with that property. It could probably be used for fields if we leveled police, town hall, and the fire building.
Right.
There's probably some opportunity for fields there. A couple of the people made some inquiries to some of the real estate people that they know about what the potential would be to develop that commercially. Probably not a good commercial site. It's, number one, kind of small. It's small. I think it's maybe 4 acres or something like that in total. And with the traffic and school and all the school, you probably wouldn't want a lot of development right there anyway. So there probably isn't much opportunity there to sell that piece of property off. But I think that's actually in one of the options is to sell 600 Chief Justice Cushing property off. But probably limited market for that. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you for the update. I have to go. I've got a selectmen's
Yeah, thank
meeting
you for
before the
staying as long
town
as you
meeting.
did.
Sorry.
Night of meetings, anyway.
But,
Could you give us the schedule?
I'll see you over the weekend.
Thank you for coming.
Generally, we only go month, meeting to meeting. May 5th, a Thursday. That rings a bell with me. May 5th, I think, is our next meeting.
I heard that said.
Yep, May 5th.
Is that a Thursday? Okay,
yeah.
that's our next meeting at 7 o'clock at Maritime Center. Yeah. And that, probably, we are talking about, we had that kind of general Saturday session 6 weeks ago, maybe. I think we're planning on the date yet, but we think it would be helpful to do another one of those toward the end of May, before we go to the selectmen with recommendations, so that if there are any more ideas that, townspeople have, that we can solicit those ideas. So that'll probably be toward the latter part of May on a Saturday. Probably not Memorial Day weekend, obviously, but maybe the Saturday before that. That's kind of our schedule for meetings at this point. Yeah, Thursday, May 5th at 7 o'clock is the next meeting. So that's it.
Okay.
Want to go back to the
Thank
schedule?
you.
So we have meeting minutes. We've
We
been
need to
sent
introduce
and-
ourselves.
What's that?
Do we need to introduce ourselves?
Yeah, why don't we? Starting with Dale.
She's back. Dale Baylor, board member.
Joan Howard, liaison for South Shore LD. Elaine Shambari, liaison for Commission on Disabilities.
Gordon Price, Chair COA.
Hi, Linda Hayes, Director of the Council on Aging.
J.D. Miller, board member.
Jill Johnston, COA Administrative Assistant.
Pat Conway, board member.
Okay. Do we have minutes from two?
So
meetings
we
did?
have minutes from February, which are 2.5 pages, and we have minutes from March, which are briefer. Wait a minute, am I right? Oh, Jill, let's see the March minutes.
I forget, why couldn't we approve the February meetings? We didn't have a quorum?
Didn't have a quorum.
Okay.
We did not have a quorum. I don't see the March minutes. today.
Yeah, they are.
They're there.
I wonder what, you have the old,
That's what it is. That's okay. Oh, thank you.
Not to rush things along, but
Well, Linda was kind enough to send them to us earlier in the week, so
Yeah,
hopefully
right.
people
Yeah.
peruse them. Cuts down on this wait time here.
If someone wants to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of February 18th, I'd accept that.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the February.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I will say, I do proof and correct them when they come in. So unless it was something I didn't know about, they're pretty good.
Again, then we have what, minutes for March 10th?
Right.
Okay.
And Pat, I guess maybe I didn't think to ask if you were going, if you were still going to take the minutes.
Oh, I hadn't thought of it, to be honest with you,
Um,
under the circumstances.
But we can watch the
Yeah.
video. Speak clearly.
I just have a question on the revolving account, which...
GATRA.
Huh?
The GATRA account we're talking?
No, the revolving.
No,
gifts and
something called the
donation account.
revolving account, which apparently are funds that people have donated to the town for senior center.
We have a
activity.
revolving program account, yes.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And is that the $35,000 to $36,000?
I am not certain. I don't have that in this packet, but I did give out handouts last meeting, so.
So, is there
What is your
somewhere
question?
in Town Hall a account for, where people have made donations to the center for
I have that
future needs?
information in our accounting program.
You have that information?
Sure.
You want to divulge it?
I have a handout somewhere from the last meeting, which I gave everybody.
Okay,
don't
I
know
wasn't
if
at the
have it
last
on-
meeting, so I
know
don't have
that.
one, so could you please send me one? Would appreciate it.
I might have it now, Gordon.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments on meeting minutes for March 10th? If not, accept the motion to approve the meeting minutes for March 10th.
To make a motion that we approve the minutes of March 10th.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approved.
Aye, aye, aye.
back to our agenda. Linda, why don't you give us your report, please?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. Welcome back, Pat.
Thank you.
And Dale. And Jill, who's here from the staff tonight. I will be quick. I've said that before, I know, but I mean it this time, because I will truly say much of my activity the past month, or more specifically in March, has really been the work involved in new programs involving, and events involving preparation, marketing, planning, confirming, scheduling, whatever, it's been quite busy for us. So events including the Age of Love film screening, and then planning for the upcoming speed dating event, which is certainly some work. The intergenerational dinner that we did have with the high school students. Added a couple of new exercise classes, one of which was grant funded, and we had to develop with some help from physical therapists and the Duxbury Senior Center. We collaborated with them on that one and getting that up and running, and an art presentation program that was new that we brought. I did want to thank personally Janice, who's now not here, as well as Audrey, who's not here. But they did both come to the screening of the film, and then Janice came afterwards and helped facilitate with a woman I had invited from Bridgewater State, who was a retired professor of social work there, who had come. I just thought it would be nice if she could help facilitate discussion and conversation after the movie, because there was just so much to talk about. It was really so insightful and wonderful and charming, and just a really great job. The director did a wonderful job on the film, and we did
the movie theater was packed.
Almost filled. It was amazing.
Yeah,
Yep. So without having a real exact number, I wish we had one of those clickers, which I wished we thought of, because we tried to have people, take names, and then that backed things up, and it was very rushed. It was very hard to get everybody in, but there was close to 130, if not at least.
If not more.
Yeah, maybe right. I hate to say that someone did count the number of men and came up with 12. So,
It's an easier number to count.
there could have been there could have been more of
You
those.
could do that on your fingers and toes.
I guess they're not. This isn't love.
But that was very worthwhile, and I so appreciated the extra time and efforts of my staff, and the extra people that had come, and those that did come and support, which was very nice. Attendance for many other things, I have not been as happy with. Some things that we paid for, some things that we certainly have put a lot of extra effort into scheduling and organizing and working with people to provide. And so, without quite knowing what to do about that altogether, I'm considering a survey, or trying to have a focus group, or just trying to get some input from the people we do know.
On programming?
On programming, or what the reasons might be that they're not coming to things we're holding,
Okay.
that we think are worthwhile,
Yeah.
and we think they want.
Yeah.
But if they don't,
Yeah,
I'd like to know what they do want.
right, sure.
So that would be something. I don't know if the board's interested in being involved in that, but I really feel like we have to do that. We work much too hard not to have the attendance, or the participation, I should say, not attendance, it's not school, but we've had some good things people have missed. And I'm not sure if it's marketing outside. The population is familiar. They can only do so many things in 1 week. As it is, we know with exercise, which is really a big part of our programming. It's certainly the widest range, too, as well. We have all ages coming to all kinds of exercise. We could keep them busy, not even just every day, probably twice a day, all week long. So that's a big one. And I did print out some numbers for a lot of the exercise and even some of the programming geared toward falls prevention, for instance. That's being talked about a great deal, and we are trying to respond to that, and people are also responding to those things and appreciative of that extra information and the extra efforts there. So the exercise class we added, called Balance for Life, is grant funded because of money available for promoting fall prevention. So that is a good one. I do have, if anyone is interested in some of the information on the speed dating, if anyone wants to look at it, I am still recruiting. You can imagine those 12 men that were at the movie. Actually, they were all with their spouses, I believe. But we have put out as much marketing so far as I can come up with without being, overly anxious and arm twisting.
Linda, who was the other board member
But
besides Janice that helped you out with that?
Well, Audrey came to the
Audrey,
film.
okay.
But at the small reception afterwards, the woman from Bridgewater, her name was Cindy King from Hingham, but just a friend of mine. So back to my report. Anyway, so in addition to that, which just has been time-consuming, the Scituate Hoarding Response Team, which I did mention at the last meeting, we are having a presentation on Saturday, April 30th. It will be held at St. Luke's in the afternoon at 1 o'clock. It is a speaker who has overcome that condition himself, and his wife, who speaks of living in that for a time. And then also we'll have a panel discussion, so I'll be on that. Jenny, Laura, Health Department, Al Elliott, probably from the Fire Department, possibly somebody from the Building Department, just to answer questions and talk about how each of us might interact with that area of concern. The other area where my time has been taken up a great deal is with the transportation in GATRA, with the addition of the 14-person van that opened up a whole new can of worms about regulations and requirements for our drivers in particular, medical, drug and alcohol testing and the protocol, and the timing is such that the FTA is bearing down on GATRA, who's requiring more from us, more paperwork, more record-keeping compliance, so that's been voluminous, and both myself and our new HR director, Stephen Salk, who's also been very helpful and involved in it, that's what we've been doing. I think I have a meeting next week that hopefully will finish things up. For our kitchen, we do have a new volunteer, and we have many new volunteers, of course, all of whom help us a great deal, but this one has some food service background and is interested in helping us manage and maybe organize and take care of things in the kitchen, or for events when we do need food catered, or we're still pending the dishwasher replacement or repair, but he's going to be great and a big help if that all comes off the way we would like it to. Also, I've been talking...
That'd be nice to have.
It will be so nice to have.
Very nice to have.
I know. He did start this week with something, and it was great. It was great. He almost waited on us. I have also been talking with our account rep for Liturgical Publications, who prints our newsletter. Advertising has still been a problem, but they have proposed that if I would sign another contract for another several years, that they would make some somewhat minor changes, but I did include those in the report. They would add the calendar, if that is a good thought for us, to have it stapled instead of an insert, because our people who come in and volunteer to fold and ready it for mailing have to insert it. And it comes separately, and half the time they lose the box, and we have to have it delivered a second time. Color would be nice, so they're proposing we could get a color cover and back cover and help us with some graphics if that is true. But they would like some assurances that we're helping to promote some advertising sales. So I have a sheet that lists a bunch of, the types of businesses and vendors, enterprises that might want to advertise, certainly advertise through the church bulletin, which is weekly, so it's different. We only have 6 issues a year. And then I also have a sheet that has the current rate for buying a different size ads. That might change if they change the grid, make more available, maybe at a smaller rate. So she's made some proposals, and I have to think about whether we should up for another 5 years, but I did ask that if I wasn't happy, I wanted to be able to cancel, because I don't want to stay in it for another 5 years. So they would put in a cancellation clause, which would be a year's advance notice. So if I didn't like it in the first month, we'd still be in it for a year, or potentially 2 if you don't know how long you want to keep it. And that's mostly because of the advertisers, of course. If they bought, then they deserve to have that for the year. So I understand that, it's just,
What do you have for options?
well, that's just it. Right now, the other options would be, and I don't know how much it might involve that we would actually pay up front for, because right now, we don't pay for the newsletter. We pay
Right.
for mailing the newsletter, which is substantial.
Right.
But we don't pay for the printing of the newsletter, which,
Right.
could we do it ourselves? You know, that's one option, possible. We could go to a printer, and we might arrange a good deal with the printer,
Right.
and then they might even mail it for us. But
Right.
again, at a cost, and I just don't know what that would take some research, and not that we couldn't do it. Would we do it within the next 2 years, though? I'm not sure.
How many contracts have we had with church?
Just one for 5
Just
years, and it happens to be coming up for renewal this year.
Are there any other alternative companies that do this?
There are some printers who would like to do it, do you know what I mean? But I don't know whether, they don't necessarily follow the same
Yeah.
model as this.
Mhm.
So this company bought the one and only other company that did senior centers.
Mhm.
Now they do churches and senior centers.
Yeah.
They're in Connecticut. So it is
Yeah,
really
they do a
limited.
lot of other senior centers in the area.
Yeah.
So it is a consideration, one that, you know,
Right.
could come up again. I just thought I would mention that the changes involved.
When do you have to make a decision on this?
Well, it's not going to be, I'm finishing the newsletter for May, almost as we speak, tomorrow, and that won't be affected anyway, so the next one would be for July, so sometime within the next month anyway. Maybe less, because they'd like to prepare for the printing that would change. Anyway, so if anyone's interested in talking about, or, you know, helping maybe work through some ideas for improving or increasing our advertising base, that would be one thing. And then otherwise, I guess, really, that's all I think I needed to mention for now. Our health fair is May 5th, actually.
Yeah.
That date came up already today, May 5th. During the day, it is at St. Luke's. And that's
Do you need volunteers to help on the day of the fair? I assume you have a committee now that's got everything.
We have Lisa, and she could use probably some help that day, but we don't have a committee.
Well, okay, well, I mean, I was just assuming, I worked on the last 2 health fairs, and there was a committee, so I guess we should never assume. So is Lisa all set with her planning? And do you need volunteers on that day, May 5th,
Well,
to help out at the fair itself?
no doubt, I'm sure we would like that, yes. I don't have the plan myself, but, you know, I'm sure we would like that. And she will call, she did ask.
Yeah. Oh, good, okay.
Okay, and I believe you have Q's report and Jenny's, which just discussed some numbers, but there is a big jump in March from February in terms of the transportation, which is good news. And I mentioned the difficulty, I suppose, we came into with the new van. We just can't use it as much as we thought we would be able to because of some driver restrictions. So that hasn't panned out quite as well. But, worth mentioning, and I meant to mention, is we did just hire a new driver. So all of our drivers are part-time. Mary and Jay are regular part-time, where they have their days scheduled, and then we have a periodic part-time. And now we will have another periodic part-time driver who is eligible to drive the larger van. So that's good for trips and for other things around town that we know we would like the bigger van for. So that was good news, too.
So are we going to have the ability to use it more as people get trained or certified or whatever has to be done? Or?
That's why we hired the new driver, so yes, I guess so. But the other drivers right now are a bit restricted, and I don't know that that will change.
So that they cannot drive it?
Potentially.
Can Jay or Mary go for further training if they wish to?
It isn't necessarily the training, although that is required of them and that they can do and have done recently. That's been part of the protocol that we've had to upgrade of late. I mean, they've always had to do training every 2 years anyway, so it was up.
But I mean, what is the difference that makes
Some of it's
driving
been
the new van?
Some of it's been medical.
Oh, medical, okay. Because it seems a shame now that we have a lot, I'm sure that you've all discussed
You
that
can't
in
use
the
it,
office.
right.
It seems a shame to have a large van and not be able to use it to its max. But, you know, this new drive will be a big help.
This was unforeseen, and so it's
Oh,
at
that's
least
great.
helpful that we were able to get the new driver too.
Okay, Elaine? Give us a little update.
Yep, just, we've been moving along quite well. With our Board of Selectmen liaison has been coming to the past couple of meetings. I missed the last meeting, both there and here, but he's been coming, John Danahy, and it's been very helpful in getting us contact names for people in town and people on different boards that we can contact and advise us as to whether to request or demand things, knowing the ins and outs of the...
So request things of the Board of Selectmen or of the town?
No,
in
he
general?
tells us, one of the things we're requesting is the policy for accessible vans for field trips at the Jenkins School. Because they have field trips and they don't have an accessible van, and they have a student who needs an accessible van, so the student doesn't get to go, and it's not, I mean, it's something that they know about ahead of time, because the student's there all the time, so they need to find out what we want to find out what the policy is, and that was one of the things he said, no, you just demand what the policy is, because they know that they have this student, and they could have other students that have a temporary need for the accessible van. So that type of thing, we didn't really have any guidance as to where to go.
Okay.
And it's been very helpful to get him to,
Great.
and he's moving forward with asking the board to fund a consultant to come in and help the town evaluate the transition plan and the ADA plan that's already in place and needs to be upgraded because it was written in 1990-something, and laws have changed significantly since then. So, and the state is pushing everybody to get up-to-dated.
What does transition mean with regard to ADA? Like, what does that
The
word?
transition plan is to moving along to comply with...
Oh, because there might be
with
new
the
laws that
new
they need
laws
to
and, yeah,
transition
right.
into compliance. Okay, thank you.
So that has been, it was recommended, this would be a good use of time and money for the town to be able to focus on, not little things that we tend to pick up, we get one report and the curb cut in front of CVS isn't good enough, and so we complain about that, but we should get it all done at once and prioritize what needs to be done and with the most effect, so that's helpful. So it's been, it was a very good meeting last night talking about that. Then I got an email today from the chairman of the board asking, I don't know where this came from.
That would be me.
Okay, I don't know where, how it's just like an announcement in
Right, it
a
went into the
newspaper or
Mariner.
something?
It would-
In the
it would-
Mariner?
it would-
Okay.
it would in the
Council on Aging is joining RMV Near Me program, and I remember hearing
It's in our
about this.
newsletter, and I mentioned it here.
Right, and I remember hearing about that, and there's going to be a couple of computers that would be available for people over 60 to utilize for the registry of motor vehicles. John's request was, would you consider opening that so that people with disabilities could
Oh, of
also
course.
use it,
Of course.
even if they weren't 60?
I guess that wasn't said language, but everything we do is
Certainly.
seniors and disabled.
Okay.
That's our.
Perfect, that's all.
All
And then from everything else, he's going to talk to you separately about the other thing
Well-
we were going to talk about.
Okay, I mentioned I would put them on the May agenda.
Oh, is that what's
would
happening?
be-
Okay, that's fine.
I just think,
John he's passionate, but he tends to look at one thing at a time, and
What is
he might
John's,
lose sight of the big picture.
I'm sorry, what is John's last name?
McLaughlin.
And John.
He's the chairman of the Commission on Disabilities.
Right, but my question also for the viewing audience, so John McLaughlin, how long has he been chairman of the Disabilities Commission? Approximately, not that you should know to the minute.
I
Just
don't
a couple of
know.
years.
It's a couple of years. Before that, it was Jeff
Well,
who now works for
But
them.
now this Mr. John McLaughlin.
Right.
Right.
And I believe it's been something like 2 years. I haven't been on the board that long, so.
I'll give it. So if he comes and gives a presentation to us next month, that would be it would give us a lot of knowledge.
He has some questions or some concerns or some requests
Yeah.
for us to potentially include here at the senior center, so I thought it would be an appropriate board visit.
Yeah. And he's trying to prevent an actual audit, I believe, is what his, and just do something informal as far as,
Well, I just assume everybody get to hear
Yeah,
that's
no.
what he has to say.
I would agree. I think it would be beneficial to have him.
He was in my
Present.
office today, and he mentioned that, you know, he would like to get some of the issues at least brought forward so that they can be addressed.
Oh, and I think it's, I told him I wouldn't talk too much tonight, but, I mean, I think there is such a correlation between the Disability Commission and the SCOA board. I mean, I think there should be,
Yeah.
because so many seniors have
Yeah.
physical disabilities.
Sure.
So if we could coordinate with each other, it would be great.
And there was I mean, I've come on as a liaison, and we did have a liaison from here who never was able to go to the Commission on Disabilities and has resigned from your board, so, and I know you have vacancies, so it's all a matter of people and time and,
Timing.
yeah.
Okay. In conjunction with what Elaine was just saying, I didn't think about this when we were talking SABRC, but one of the other issues with Gates is the huge issues there with bringing that building into compliance.
Oh, really? ADA?
You know, the building is built on like
Different
4 or 5
levels,
different
yeah.
levels, and every time there was an addition made to it, for some reason, it was put at a different level, up 2 feet, down 2 feet, and there were ramps, and so, that would be a major expense and consideration to bring that building into compliance, as well as the mitigation issues of asbestos and other things, so just, it kind of popped into my mind. Betty, you want to give us a little update on FOSS?
Thank you. The Friends of Scituate Seniors is sponsoring an event this Saturday at the GAR Hall. It's Bob Cheshire is speaking at 3 o'clock about the Lawson Tower. So the tickets will be available at the door. They're $10 each, and we're hoping to have a pretty good turnout. Also, several of the members of the Friends of Scituate Seniors have volunteered to work with the Council on Aging at the health fair, and we've picked up some brochures that we're going to put around town and try and get involved with that. And the only other big item is still, we're looking toward the golf tournament, which is going to be on June 17th, and you'll be seeing posters around town. We're starting to put those up.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it for FOSS.
Okay, thank you. Primarily because of Dale's absence from home territory here in Scituate, the 3 of us haven't really met to kind of put a grip on what our space planning recommendations are going to be, but I think with the advent of the new information from Durkee Brown and Mr. Catlin, I think we kind of know where we're going to end up, but so in the next week or 2, the 3 of us will try to get together and come up with a formal, as the planning of the
Programs committee.
program committee did. So I'd like to make sure that space planning subcommittee actually makes a formal declaration in terms of what we feel is the appropriate space issues for the senior center.
Also, too, now that we know that one way or another, wherever the next senior center ends up, we know the recommended total space
Yeah,
is 14,500. We know now what parameters to work
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
instead of guessing.
The ideal, I mean, that's the ideal that we hope we could have, well,
Well, we could at least use it as a,
Yeah, it's a benchmark.
guide.
It's a
Yeah,
benchmark.
exactly.
And we have, at least now we have a professional corporation business man who's very well regarded in the in the space and building senior center issues to, come forward with a recommendation, so that certainly would...
Instead of saying, well, if we had 20,000, if we
Yeah,
have
right.
10,000, this is,
Right.
we can make one recommendation.
Yeah, and with
For our
Linda's help,
subcommittee and
on the survey that was
based
done,
on-
we've been able to pretty much pin down what our space needs are, so
Well,
we'll come to some conclusion on that.
and as director with experience with space, I feel I've been able to make recommendations with regard to what would be ideal and what we could certainly live for and
Right.
live with, and sometimes just because you have to work with what you get. But I certainly would advocate for what I know would be the ideal amount of space.
A couple things, and I think, we probably want to try to be out of here in another 10 minutes or so. So I guess if this is my piece, I'll give you my take on a few things. I did get an email today from Lorraine Devon at the Selectman's office, and there's going to be a open house at the Jenkins School cafeteria again
On May
on
5th.
Thursday, May 5th, from 7 to 8, encouraging people who have interest in serving on a board or a committee to come and get information and/or sign up, so that when the selectmen start making their, I guess, interviews for the applicants, that the names will be in the hat already. So, I can certainly help out. I think they would like a representative or a few representatives from the different committees to be there.
I did it last year along with Linda. It's somebody else's turn this
Yeah,
time.
You won't, you have a meeting.
Oh, wait, I can't. Thursday is SABRC. Okay, if somebody else can, then that would be helpful, because I can't be in two places at once, so. And I know Pat is officially asked to pull back from the committee because of her extended periods of time that she's going to be in Florida over the next few years, so that certainly is...
But she's been gracious enough to maybe
yeah,
stay with us through the term.
For the summer, okay,
Yes.
great.
Well, the term...
Till June, until...
The term ends in
Yeah,
June.
okay.
For everybody's terms, the single year,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
June rotation.
Yeah.
So May, the Board of Selectmen takes the applications. June, they would bring people before the board.
Yeah.
What is the date of that open house?
For Thursday, May 5th, 7 to 8:30 at this Jenkins cafeteria.
May 5th is a
So-
popular day.
Yeah. Has the next newsletter, Linda, is that all formulated now? Is it possible we could get announcement in this into the next newsletter, or no?
I can get, yeah.
Okay.
I did want to put in, not to interrupt you, but it goes with it, that we need to do board elections too, and we really should have done that every year. We didn't do it last year. We did it 2 years ago, and we did it in August. So the timing for me seems to be that we sort of, maybe next meeting would want to make nominations, so that then they might go into the July newsletter. I think they have to be posted somehow according to the either open meeting or some sort of bylaw. Not to sound completely uneducated about it. And then, so when we had the election, so June, the board might approve certain new members, 3 new members is what we need. And then, we might not have a July board meeting, I'm not sure. We didn't last year, we took a little vacation. Maybe we won't this year, but we did.
Yeah.
And then August, we had elections 2 years ago, so that then September, the new sort of board
Yeah, I think we could.
executive people, so that's the timing I was looking at. So yes, I would put something in the newsletters, just sort of
Okay,
outline that for people
great.
to know.
Yeah, I think we should plan on that. That's appropriate. A couple other things. I did attend the FOSS directors meeting, right?
No, it was a general meeting.
Well, the general meeting yesterday, and came back with a couple of ideas, a couple of thoughts. FOSS has currently about 250 members, give or take a few, which is great. Shows a good interest in people joining the group for our benefit. I was wondering if we could possibly maybe keep some FOSS membership applications here at the center, so that if people who are coming through the center might be interested in joining FOSS. Is there any reason why we couldn't do that?
That's been something I want to talk to FOSS myself about, so that's not something I brought up at the board meeting necessarily, because we've been talking about how to make it a more cohesive relationship.
Yep.
And in that case, it would be fine. Under the current circumstances, I haven't been that comfortable.
Okay.
I've certainly done it, however, we have certainly done it
Okay.
here.
Would it be possible for FOSS to have a table at the health fair? I don't know whose decision that is, but...
My decision.
Hmm?
It's my decision.
Okay. Would you consider that, please?
Is this the proper forum for all of this? We could have a conversation about it.
I don't understand your objection or your concern.
Because there is some concern about the way things have gone, and I've expressed my concerns with them, and I'm hoping that we can somehow come to some sort of a better understanding of how we need to work together. And I'm happy to work together as long as we're not continuing in the way we have.
I would think if they're going to support our efforts, we should certainly be willing to support their efforts and be willing to put up a flyer or...
Yeah, and we have,
like that.
and we have.
Okay.
But it is a bigger conversation that I wasn't ready for right now.
Okay, well, let me know when you're ready, and I'd be happy to participate in that conversation. I think we should probably think about adjourning so that we can all
I
get up
just
to town hall.
And I am sincerely interested, and I've been ill, so, and I'm not intending to put you on the spot, Linda, but just can you give a short status on the friendly visitor program?
I cannot tell. I passed that on to the staff people in charge of that.
So,
and in touch with you.
You can't tell me, I mean, you're the director, you can't tell me anything? I'm sorry, never mind, I'll get in touch with Lisa.
I have been involved to the point that they have taken it over, and they have solicited volunteers, and Laura is looking at who would be a match for certain volunteers, and I don't know right now where they are at with that. So I apologize for not having that information ready for you, Dale.
Okay, barring anything else, I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion. Any other business? No? Yes?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, adjourned. See you at Town Hall.